Coach Athena, and I have decided to share a day in my life with you. As you are aware, if you've been following my journey, I have been on a healing journey from PTSD, um, abuse, and just learning how to love Athena and how to elevate Athena more. So today I just want to have a conversation. I just want to talk. I just want to talk about some things. I know that sometimes my topics can be a little heavy. And this is what God has ordained for me to do. He has ordained for me to discuss the heavy stuff. The stuff that some people don't want to talk about. So at times I will still do that. Teach you how to deal with some of the heavy stuff. But I also want to teach you how to deal with the good stuff and tell you about the good things that are going on. And today is a good day for me. Today is a stable day. Let me tell you what the most important thing that I've learned in my journey with PTSD is that you have to learn how to manage your emotions, how to stay balanced and even, so that if something comes up, and when you live in the world of PTSD world, things often come up. Things often come up. So you have to be prepared to deal with those things. And the way that I stay balanced, I have learned to come in tune with my body. That's first and foremost. Listen to my body. Because we store stress and trauma in our body. So when you become aware of your body, then you can know when you may be tilting out of balance. So I do. I pay attention to that. I start my day with, I have 1 cup of coffee, but I do special coffee. And you know why? Because caffeine can definitely alter your balance, your emotional balance. So I love coffee though. So I have found a coffee that has mushroom adaptogens in it. Ashwagandha is good for anxiety and keeping you balanced emotionally. So I start my day with a coffee that has ashwagandha in it, and it helps start my day balanced emotionally. I'm also always aware of when I'm triggered. In the past year, I spent a lot of time alone, and in that alone time, you start to understand and be able to come in tune with your feelings, your spirit. When we live with other people, we can take on their energy, and I'm an empath, so I do feel the energy of others when I'm around them, and it can sometimes be overwhelming. So as I've been on my journey and living alone, I have learned to come in tune with my energy, and I know when I'm balanced, and then I know when I'm getting unbalanced, even if it's because someone else is around me or something triggers me. So I recognize the signs now, and I am able to intercede, so that it doesn't get out of balance quickly. If any of you have worked with people who have disabilities or even intellectual disabilities, or have poor emotional regulation, some people or young people with autism don't have very good emotional regulation. And I did work with that population of students, and they were just wonderful. But a big part of my job was trying to keep them balanced and teaching them how to balance their emotions and to stay emotionally regulated. One of the things that we learned was you want to keep them from getting to that high escalation. Because once you get to a certain point, it's a done deal. It's like, boiling water. So when you're boiling water, as long as you see the little bubbles, you're good, right? And this is good because, I might have to monitor my coffee when I'm making it in the morning, because if it gets to that rolling boil, you see the big bubbles, it's going to overflow the pot. And that's the same thing that I'm referring to with your emotions and being emotionally regulated, that you have to know where your boiling point is. And the goal should be to not get to the boiling point. Because once you're at the boiling point, you just got to let it go then. You got to let it roll. So I've learned where my boiling point is. And I do my best daily to maintain my balance emotionally and to not get to that boiling point. But sometimes it happens. It still happens. We're human, And about 2 weeks ago, I had a trigger. Very emotional trigger. And it took me to my boiling point. And I was shocked at how fast I got to that boiling point. What I was very excited about was that I didn't respond in the similar way, or react in the way that I would have before. I may have in the past said some things I didn't mean to say. I think we've all done that. And during the process of me processing those emotions, I was able to see the difference of the fearful Athena, which is the one who comes out when I'm triggered and when I'm highly emotional and I'm actually working from the emotion instead of from the calm, balanced thought place. And I was able to see the difference. The fearful, anxiety-ridden Athena runs away, and she will say things that she doesn't mean, because I mean it in that moment, but it's coming from the fear versus coming from a faith standpoint, right? When I'm in the faith and I'm balanced, all things are possible. I don't have to be afraid of this, because yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, Jesus, I shall fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. See, when I'm in that energy, I don't care what you bring at me. Look, God has me. I don't say things that are negative. I'm not running away. If anything, I'm giving love, and I'm going to give uplifting words in that faith mode. So I was clearly able to see my difference. And my goal is to come somewhere in the middle. Fear is going to always be in existence, okay? And faith for me is going to always be in existence. So I need to come somewhere in the middle, and I deal with the fear with the faith, and let the faith override the fear at times. And a big part of that is recognizing your cycle. So in this situation where I told you I got triggered, it took me a couple days. It took a couple days for me to process everything, to process the emotions, to process the situation that happened. And I was able to reconcile everything with myself and with the person who triggered me. And I was very happy because I came through it faster. Before I would sit in that energy and that fear and that anxiety for days, sometimes weeks. And this only took maybe 1 or 2 days for me to turn it. and really look at it, and to be able to sit with whatever that truth was that was hurting, because it brought up those old wounds. And see, that's what our triggers do. They bring up that old trauma, and then you can re-experience that trauma like it was the first time. So, and I responded to it like it was the first time initially, because I wanted to run away. I just wanted, look, I'm done with this. I'm tired of doing this. But I also realized I can't close myself off from everything and everybody. And that a lot of my trauma has come from people I love and people who love me. And you may think that, well, if they love you, how could they traumatize you? Because hurt people hurt people. That's how. And in my healing, I've had to sit with some of the reasons about why these people traumatize me. And most of them, I'm not going to say all, but most were people who were traumatized themselves. And we will typically repeat that cycle of trauma. And if we don't get healed, if we don't finally stop and say, look, face it. And it was that helped me to forgive. And like I said, for this last trigger, that it was that helped me to kind of move through it quicker, because I already understood that the person who triggered me is a traumatized person. And understanding that a lot of what they do and say comes from that cycle, their cycle. It doesn't mean that I accept the behavior. It doesn't mean that it makes it okay. It's never okay to hurt people like that. But it makes me understand and easier to process it and to forgive and to reconcile and move forward. Because if I decided to cut all relationships with people who have traumatized me, I wouldn't have family. I wouldn't have relationships. And, I don't know about anyone else, but most of the time, most of our trauma comes from those who are closest to us. I'm not saying they do it on purpose. We as Black people in America, trauma is our foundation. So trying to undo centuries of trauma is a big, big task. But understanding where some of those behaviors come from helps in the healing process. And it helps you to be able to forgive and lend understanding to what someone else is going through. So that's my conversation today. I just want you to know that healing is not a scary thing, okay? It doesn't have to be. It can be something very enriching. It can be something that is empowering. And I encourage you to read Psalm 23, because that's what got me through. Because my healing journey was walking through that valley of the shadow of death. And it was scary. And there were all kinds of little shadow things, shadow places that I was always afraid to look at, always afraid to go back to. That made me run in many ways. But I am so grateful. I start my day with gratitude, with my gratitude meditation every day, because I am so grateful that God was with me in that valley, that God led me through the valley, and that I was able to come out of the valley and be able to share my journey with you. So, this is the Life Calling Coach. And, I encourage you every day, every day, every day, to live on purpose and not by accident. I also invite you to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let me know how you like these videos or if you don't like them. But I just want you to know that I'm not going to always share positive things. We have to talk about the difficult things sometimes. And I don't care if it's for one person, I'm going to put it out. Okay? And I would love for you to visit the website. We have a whole new website. Yes, it's exciting. 2025 is the year of thriving. So visit the website, TheLifeCallingCoach.com, and stay plugged in. Join our mailing list so that you can be a part of the healing process, the wellness journey for this year. Like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.